Welcome to my channel, Old Valuable Coins. Stop scrolling right now. This tiny 1-cent coin from the United States could change your life. The most valuable 1-cent coin ever made is a 1943 Lincoln wheat penny struck in copper. During World War II, pennies were supposed to be made from steel, but a small number were accidentally made using copper blanks. That mistake turned this ordinary-looking penny into one of the rarest coins in American history. Today, a genuine 1943 copper penny can be worth tens of thousands of dollars, and in perfect condition, even more. Look closely at the date, test it with a magnet, and check the color. That old penny in your pocket might be hiding a fortune. Stop what you're doing for a moment, because the penny you're about to hear about is not just loose change. The 1942 1-cent coin from the United States is a small piece of copper that carries a massive historical story, hidden varieties, and the potential to be far more valuable than most people realize. Many of these coins still sit unnoticed in old jars, drawers, and inherited collections, and yet collectors around the world actively search for specific 1942 pennies every single day. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this coin matters, what makes certain examples rare, and how an ordinary-looking penny from 1942 can sometimes be worth real money. The 1942 Lincoln wheat penny was struck during one of the most critical moments in American history. The United States was fully engaged in World War II, and the entire nation was focused on production, sacrifice, and survival. Every material mattered, especially copper, which was essential for ammunition, wiring, and military equipment. Even though the famous steel penny would not appear until 1943, the pressure on copper supplies in 1942 was already intense. That makes the 1942 penny one of the final regular copper cents before the historic wartime change that followed the next year. This coin features the iconic Lincoln portrait on the front, a design that had already been in use for over 3 decades by 1942. Abraham Lincoln faces right, with strong yet simple details that symbolize stability during uncertain times. The words "In God We Trust" appear above his head, while "Liberty" rests to the left and the date 1942 appears clearly on the right. While millions of Americans handled these coins daily during the war years, few realized that subtle differences in strike quality, mint location, and condition would later determine which coins became highly desirable. On the reverse, the classic wheat ears frame the word 1 cent and United States of America. This wheat cent design would only last until 1958, making all wheat pennies part of a closed and finite era in U.S. coinage. Collectors today place strong historical value on wheat cents because they represent pre-modern American coinage, produced before dramatic changes in metal composition and mass minting technology. The 1942 penny was produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins from Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while Denver coins show a small D beneath the date, and San Francisco coins display an S. Each mint produced millions of coins, but production numbers alone do not tell the full story. Condition, strike quality, and rare varieties can create massive value gaps between 2 coins that look nearly identical at first glance. Philadelphia produced the highest number of 1942 cents, making the no-mint mark version the most common overall. However, common does not mean worthless. A well-preserved 1942 penny with strong details, original luster, and minimal wear can still command a premium. Many coins from circulation show flattened wheat ears, weak lettering, and surface damage from decades of handling. Coins that avoided this fate are the ones collectors aggressively pursue. The Denver Mint produced fewer coins than Philadelphia, and 1942 D cents are particularly popular with collectors assembling complete Lincoln cent sets. High-quality examples from Denver are harder to find than many people expect, especially those with sharp strikes and clean surfaces. Some Denver cents from this era are known for weak details, so strong examples stand out immediately to experienced collectors. San Francisco produced the lowest number of 1942 pennies, making the 1942 S cent especially desirable. While still not extremely rare, it is noticeably scarcer in high condition. Many 1942 S pennies were heavily circulated, meaning that uncirculated or near-perfect examples are far more difficult to locate today. For collectors, this mint mark often adds a meaningful premium when the coin is well preserved. One of the most exciting aspects of the 1942 1-cent coin is the existence of errors and varieties. These are coins that were struck incorrectly or show unusual characteristics that separate them from standard issues. Error coins are highly collectible because they represent mistakes that slipped through quality control during a time when speed and volume were more important than perfection. Some 1942 pennies exhibit doubled features, where parts of the lettering or date appears slightly doubled due to misalignment during the die creation process. These doubled details are often subtle and require careful inspection, but when confirmed, they can dramatically increase the coin's value. Other errors include off-center strikes, clipped planches, and misaligned dies, all of which can turn an ordinary penny into a standout collectible. Repunched mint marks are another area of interest for 1942 pennies, particularly from the Denver and San Francisco mints. In these cases, the mint mark was punched into the die more than once, creating a visible overlap or shadow effect. Collectors specializing in varieties actively hunt for these coins, and confirmed examples can sell for far more than standard issues. Condition is one of the most important factors when evaluating a 1942 penny. Coins that remain in uncirculated condition, meaning they show no signs of wear from circulation, are dramatically more valuable than worn examples. Original red copper color is especially prized, as most pennies naturally darken over time. Coins that retain their bright or partially red surfaces are increasingly rare after more than 80 years. Even circulated 1942 pennies can carry value beyond face value, especially when they have strong details and minimal damage. However, coins that have been cleaned, scratched, or altered usually lose much of their collector appeal. Many people mistakenly clean old coins, believing it increases value, when in reality it often does the opposite. The historical context of the 1942 penny adds another layer of significance. These coins were used during wartime rationing, carried by workers in factories, soldiers on leave, and families coping with daily uncertainty. Each coin is a silent witness to one of the most important periods in modern history. That emotional and historical connection is a major reason collectors continue to value World War II-era coins so highly. Because the 1943 steel penny is so famous, many collectors also seek the 1942 penny as a final normal copper cent before the change. This gives the 1942 issue a unique place in Lincoln cent collections. It represents the end of an era, just before necessity forced a dramatic shift in materials. Market demand for Lincoln wheat pennies remains strong, especially for coins from the early 1940s. New collectors often begin with wheat cents because they are affordable, historically rich, and easy to recognize. This constant demand helps support values and ensures that high-quality examples remain desirable year after year. The 1-cent coin you are looking at right now might seem ordinary, but what if I told you that a small copper penny from 1957 could be hiding a story of American history, rare minting secrets, and surprising value that many people overlook every single day? This is a 1957 United States 1-cent coin, commonly known as a Lincoln wheat penny, and today we are diving deep into why this coin still fascinates collectors, history lovers, and everyday people searching their spare change. The year 1957 sits in a very interesting period of American history. The United States was in the middle of the Cold War, Elvis Presley was dominating the music world, and the economy was rapidly growing. During this time, the U.S. Mint was producing millions of pennies for everyday use, never imagining that decades later people would be carefully inspecting these same coins under bright lights, searching for small details that could turn an ordinary penny into a valuable collectible. The 1957 1-cent coin features the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the front. This design was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. By 1957, this design had already been in circulation for nearly 50 years, making it one of the most recognizable coin designs in American history. Lincoln's calm expression, strong profile, and the words "In God We Trust" above his head reflect the values and beliefs of the nation during that era. On the reverse side of the 1957 penny, you will find the classic wheat ears design, which is why collectors call it the wheat penny. 2 wheat stalks frame the word 1 cent and United States of America, with E pluribus unum displayed across the top. This wheat design symbolized prosperity and agricultural strength, a perfect representation of America's identity during the mid-20th century. Now let's talk about composition, because this is one of the most important details. The 1957 penny is made primarily of copper, with a small amount of tin and zinc. This gives the coin its warm reddish-brown color, especially when well preserved. Unlike modern pennies, which are mostly zinc, these older copper pennies have an intrinsic appeal that collectors love. Many people specifically search for pre-1982 pennies because of their copper content alone. The United States Mint produced a 1957 penny at multiple locations. Most were struck in Philadelphia, which did not use a mint mark at the time. A significant number were also produced at the Denver Mint, identified by a small D mint mark below the date. Both versions are collectible, but subtle differences in condition, strike quality, and minting errors can dramatically affect value. Speaking of value, this is where the 1957 penny becomes truly exciting. In circulated condition, many 1957 pennies are still affordable and commonly found in collections. However, when you move into higher quality examples, the story changes. Coins that have sharp details, minimal wear, and original luster can be worth significantly more than face value. Even more exciting are examples with unique characteristics that set them apart from the rest. Mint errors are one of the biggest reasons why some 1957 pennies sell for impressive prices. Errors such as doubled letters, off-center strikes, die cracks, and misaligned designs can make a coin extremely desirable. These errors occurred during the minting process and were never meant to leave the mint, yet some slipped into circulation and survived for decades. One of the most talked about possibilities with a 1957 penny is doubling in the lettering or date. While not all doubling adds value, strong and clear doubling can make collectors stop and take notice. Even small irregularities can be the difference between an ordinary penny and a highly sought-after collectible. Condition is another major factor that determines value. A 1957 penny that has spent decades in circulation will show where on Lincoln's face the wheat is and the lettering. However, coins that were stored away shortly after minting can still display bright surfaces and sharp details. These well-preserved examples are much harder to find today, especially after more than 60 years. Color also plays a big role in desirability. Copper pennies naturally change color over time, often turning brown as they age. Coins that retain more of their original red or red-brown color are generally more appealing to collectors. The closer a coin looks to how it appeared when it left the mint, the stronger the interest tends to be. Beyond value, the 1957 1-cent coin is a powerful piece of history. This penny passed through countless hands during a transformative time in America. It may have been used to buy candy, newspapers, or a cup of coffee. It may have traveled across states, cities, and generations, silently witnessing changes in culture, technology, and society. What makes this coin even more special is that it belongs to the final years of the wheat penny era. Just 1 year later, in 1959, the reverse design would change to the Lincoln Memorial, ending the beloved wheat design forever. That makes the 1957 penny one of the last representatives of a classic American coinage style. Many collectors today enjoy searching through old jars, inherited collections, and bankrolls hoping to find a hidden gem. The 1957 penny remains a popular target because it is old enough to be interesting, yet common enough that discoveries still happen. Every time someone finds one, there is that moment of curiosity and excitement, wondering if this penny might be something special. If you are holding a 1957 1-cent coin, take a closer look. Examine the date, the mint mark, the lettering, and the overall condition. Look for anything unusual or different. Even small details can tell a big story. That's the beauty of coin collecting. It turns ordinary objects into historical treasures. The 1957 penny also serves as a perfect entry point for new collectors. It teaches important lessons about history, minting, condition, and attention to detail. For experienced collectors, it remains a nostalgic and meaningful piece that connects them to the golden era of American coinage. As time goes on, fewer and fewer high-quality examples remain. Coins get lost, damaged, or melted, making well-preserved pieces increasingly scarce. This natural reduction over time is one reason why interest in older pennies like the 1957 continues to grow. So the next time you come across a simple brown penny dated 1957, don't ignore it. That small coin carries decades of history, craftsmanship, and potential value. It represents a moment in time when coins were made to last, when copper pennies jingled in pockets across America, and when even 1 cent had purchasing power. This is why the 1957 United States 1 cent coin continues to capture attention, spark curiosity, and inspire collectors around the world. Sometimes, the smallest coins tell the biggest stories, and this penny is proof of that. Imagine holding a tiny copper coin that quietly witnessed the end of World War II, pass through the hands of factory workers, soldiers' families, and everyday Americans rebuilding their lives. Today we're diving deep into the fascinating story, history, and hidden value of the 1945 United States 1 cent coin. This is not just a penny. It's a symbol of survival, transition, and one of the most important years in American and world history. The year 1945 marked the final chapter of World War II. As the war came to an end, America shifted from wartime production back to peace, and the U.S. Mint followed that transition closely. The 1 cent coin struck in 1945 belongs to the famous Lincoln wheat cent series, a design that had already been in circulation for decades. But this particular year holds a special place because it represents the first full year after steel cents were discontinued and copper returned to American coinage. Just 2 years earlier, in 1943, pennies were made from steel to save copper for the war effort. By 1944, the mint returned to copper-based cents, but the metal used came from recycled wartime materials like shell casings. The 1945 penny continued this practice, making it a true wartime relic even though the fighting was coming to an end. Every 1945 1 cent coin carries metal that may have once been part of the war itself, giving it a powerful historical connection that collectors deeply appreciate. The design of the 1945 penny features Abraham Lincoln on the front, a portrait that had already become iconic in American coinage. Lincoln's calm and determined expression perfectly matches the spirit of the nation during that time. On the reverse side, the familiar wheat ears frame the words 1 cent, symbolizing prosperity, agriculture, and hope for a better future. This wheat design will continue until 1958, making 1945 part of the final era of classic American penny designs. In 1945, pennies were struck at 3 different locations. Coins without a mint mark were produced in Philadelphia, while others were made in Denver with a small D and in San Francisco with an S. Each mint produced millions of coins, but not all were saved. These pennies were heavily used in daily commerce, which means finding examples today in strong condition can be far more difficult than people expect. Philadelphia produced the largest number of 1945 pennies, making them the most commonly encountered today. However, common does not mean worthless. Even circulated examples are popular with collectors who want to complete full Lincoln wheat cent sets. Denver minted 1945 pennies are scarcer than their Philadelphia counterparts, and San Francisco coins are even more challenging to find in higher quality due to weaker strikes and heavy circulation on the West Coast. One of the most exciting aspects of the 1945 1 cent coin is the possibility of errors and variations. These are the coins that can turn a simple penny into a highly desirable collectible. Some 1945 pennies were struck off-center, while others showed double details in the lettering or date. These mistakes happened during the fast-paced minting process, where millions of coins are produced under pressure. Today, these errors are among the most searched-for Lincoln cents online. Another detail collectors look for is the overall color of the coin. Because the metal composition involved recycled copper, 1945 pennies can display a wide range of tones, from deep brown to rich reddish hues. Coins that have retained more of their original color are especially attractive and often command more attention. This natural variation adds to the character and uniqueness of each coin. The historical timing of the 1945 penny also boosts its appeal. This coin circulated during celebrations of victory, the return of soldiers, and the beginning of a new economic boom in the United States. It may have been used by a newspaper announcing the war's end or a loaf of bread during rationing's final days. When collectors hold a 1945 penny, they are holding a direct connection to those moments. Value is always a major question when it comes to old coins, and the 1945 penny is no exception. While many examples are still affordable, certain factors can dramatically increase value. Condition plays a major role, as coins with sharp details, clear lettering, and minimal wear are much harder to find. Mint marks also matter, with Denver and San Francisco coins generally being more desirable than those from Philadelphia. Error coins from 1945 can be especially valuable. Doubling in the date or lettering, Unusual metal flaws or striking mistakes can transform a 1-cent coin into a true collector's piece. These coins are often discovered years later in old collections, jars, or inherited coin groups, which makes the search even more exciting. Collectors also appreciate the 1945 penny because it represents stability returning to American currency. After the unusual steel cents and wartime changes, the familiar copper penny symbolized normal life resuming. This emotional connection is one reason Lincoln wheat cents remain one of the most collected coin series in the United States. For new collectors, the 1945 1-cent coin is a perfect entry point into numismatics. It's old enough to be historical, affordable enough to collect, and interesting enough to keep people engaged. For experienced collectors, it offers opportunities to hunt for better condition examples, mintmark varieties, and striking errors. Over the years, interest in Lincoln wheat cents has only grown. Online searches for old pennies, valuable wheat cents, and wartime coins continue to rise. The 1945 penny consistently appears in discussions because of its connection to World War II and the transition to peace. This steady interest helps maintain demand and long-term collectability. Proper care is important for anyone who owns a 1945 penny. Because these coins are copper-based, they can be sensitive to environmental damage. Exposure to moisture, chemicals, or improper cleaning can permanently reduce value. Many collectors recommend simply preserving the coin as is, allowing its natural aging to tell its story. Another fascinating aspect of the 1945 penny is how many still remain undiscovered in everyday places. Old jars, drawers, inherited collections, and even circulation occasionally produce these coins. Each discovery adds to the excitement and reminds us that history is still hiding in plain sight. The 1945 1-cent coin also appeals to history lovers who may not consider themselves collectors. It serves as a physical reminder of a world-changing year. Holding a coin from 1945 is like holding a snapshot of a moment when the world shifted from war to peace. As time goes on, coins like the 1945 penny become more than just currency. They become artifacts. They tell stories of industrial effort, national sacrifice, and economic recovery. This storytelling power is what keeps collectors returning to classic coins year after year. Whether you're searching for value, history, or personal connection, the 1945 United States 1-cent coin delivers on all levels. It may be small, but its story is massive. From recycled wartime copper to post-war optimism, this penny represents resilience and renewal. Imagine holding a small copper coin that quietly marks a return of peace after one of the most dramatic periods in human history. Today we're diving deep into the 1946 1-cent coin from the United States, a Lincoln wheat penny that represents far more than just pocket change. This coin was struck just 1 year after World War II ended, at a time when America was transitioning from wartime production back to everyday life, and that alone makes the 1946 penny a fascinating piece of history for collectors and history lovers alike. The 1946 Lincoln cent was the first regular copper penny produced after the war years. During World War II, the United States Mint changed the composition of the penny to conserve copper for military use, resulting in the famous steel cent of 1943 and composition changes in the following years. By 1946, copper had returned, and Americans once again saw that familiar warm brown tone in their change. This return to copper symbolized stability, recovery, and the rebuilding of a nation. On the obverse of the 1946 1-cent coin, we see the iconic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln. This design, first introduced in 1909, was the first time a real historical figure appeared on a circulating U.S. coin. Lincoln's calm yet determined expression reflects the values of unity and perseverance, which felt especially meaningful in the years immediately following the war. Above Lincoln's head is the word liberty, while the year 1946 appears clearly in front of his profile, anchoring this coin firmly in its historical moment. Turning to the reverse, the 1946 penny features the classic wheat ears design. Two wheat stalks frame the word 1 cent and United States of America, with the national motto E pluribus unum above. This reverse design was used from 1909 to 1958 and has become one of the most beloved designs in American coinage. The wheat ears symbolize prosperity and abundance, which made perfect sense during a time when Americans were hopeful for economic growth and a better future after years of rationing and sacrifice. The 1946 1-cent coin was produced at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Coins struck in Philadelphia do not carry a mint mark, while those from Denver feature a small D, and those from San Francisco display an S. Each mint produced millions of coins, but collectors know that condition, originality, and eye appeal play a major role in determining how desirable a specific 1946 penny can be today. Most 1946 pennies were struck using a copper-based alloy, giving them that rich reddish-brown color collectors love. Over time, many of these coins darken or develop natural toning, which can range from deep brown to attractive reddish hues. Coins that retain stronger color and sharper details are especially popular among collectors, even though many examples are still relatively affordable, making this an excellent entry point for new coin enthusiasts. What makes the 1946 penny especially interesting is the historical transition it represents. This coin came from an era when American factories were shifting from producing tanks and aircraft to manufacturing consumer goods. Soldiers were returning home, families were being reunited, and the economy was entering a period of rapid growth. Every 1946 penny was struck during this remarkable moment, making it a tangible reminder of post-war America. Collectors also pay close attention to small details when examining 1946 1-cent coins. Things like strike quality, surface preservation, and original luster can make a noticeable difference in desirability. Some coins show softer details due to heavy use, while others appear surprisingly sharp, suggesting they were saved early or saw limited circulation. These subtle differences are part of what makes coin collecting so exciting. Another aspect that adds interest to the 1946 Lincoln Wheat penny is the possibility of minor minting variations and errors. While major errors are uncommon, small imperfections such as off-center strikes, die cracks, or weak lettering occasionally appear and can add curiosity value for collectors. Even a common date coin can become a conversation piece when it shows an unusual feature. The popularity of Lincoln Wheat pennies continues to grow, especially as more people discover the joy of collecting historic U.S. coins. The 1946 penny often serves as a bridge between wartime and modern-era coinage, making it a favorite among collectors who enjoy building complete date and mint mark sets. Because it's widely available, many collectors aim to find the best example they can afford, upgrading over time as they learn more. From an investment perspective, the 1946 1-cent coin is generally considered a long-term collectible rather than a get-rich-quick item. Its true value lies in history, condition, and collector demand rather than rarity alone. High-quality examples with strong detail and original surfaces tend to hold their appeal well, especially as interest in classic American coinage continues to rise. For many people, the emotional value of a 1946 penny can be just as important as its monetary worth. Perhaps it reminds them of a grandparent who lived through the post-war era, or maybe it's the oldest coin they've ever found in circulation. Coins like this connect generations, allowing us to hold a small piece of the past in the palm of our hand. As you look at a 1946 Lincoln Wheat cent, it's worth remembering the world it came from. Radios were the primary source of news, televisions were just beginning to appear, and America was stepping into a new role on the global stage. This humble 1-cent coin quietly witnessed the start of a new chapter in history. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just beginning your journey into old U.S. coins, the 1946 1-cent coin offers a perfect blend of history, accessibility, and classic design. It tells a story of recovery, hope, and continuity, all captured in a small copper disc that has survived nearly 8 decades. If you enjoy learning about old and valuable coins, especially historic U.S. pennies like the 1946 Lincoln Wheat cent, make sure to stay connected for more deep dives into America's most fascinating coins. Each coin has a story, and sometimes the smallest coins carry the biggest history. The 1946 1-cent coin may seem simple at first glance, but once you understand its background, symbolism, and place in American history, it becomes much more than spare change. It becomes a reminder of resilience, tradition, and the enduring legacy of U.S. coinage.